10. Rottnest Island, Wajamup. Rottnest Island is known for its pristine beaches and friendly quokkas, but beneath its tranquil surface lies a brutal history. For thousands of years, the island, known as Wajamup to the local Noongar people, was a sacred place. But from 1838 to 1931, it was used as a penal settlement for Aboriginal prisoners. It was a place of extreme suffering and a high death rate, with over 370 prisoners dying from disease, malnutrition, and violence. Their bodies were buried in unmarked graves, their spirits never truly laid to rest. The island is considered one of the most haunted places in Western Australia, with many visitors reporting a heavy, oppressive energy in certain areas, particularly near the old jail and burial grounds. People have reported hearing disembodied wails and cries from the wind, feeling a sudden chill even on the hottest days, and having an overwhelming sense of dread. The ghosts are not just limited to one place, they are believed to roam the entire island, a chilling reminder of the unimaginable suffering that took place on this seemingly peaceful paradise. Their presence is a silent protest, a haunting cry for recognition and remembrance. 9. The Rose and Crown Hotel, Guildford. The Rose and Crown Hotel in Guildford isn't just a pub, it's a historical landmark with a dark secret. Built in 1841, it's one of the oldest hotels in Western Australia, serving as a staging post for travellers and a watering hole for locals. Its history is a rich tapestry of stories, but it's also a place with a reputation for being one of the state's most haunted. The ghosts that are said to roam its halls are as diverse as its history. The most famous is a former landlord named Gus, who is said to haunt the hotel cellar, where he reportedly died. Staff and visitors have heard Gus's disembodied voice grumbling and seen objects move on their own. A more tragic presence is that of a young woman named Sarah, a maid who is said to have committed suicide after a love affair went wrong. Her ghost is said to haunt room 5, where guests have reported feeling a sudden drop in temperature and a sense of profound sadness. Another spectral figure, that of an old man with a cane, has been seen in the lounge area, appearing and disappearing in the blink of an eye. The Rose and Crown is more than just a place to stay, it's a place where you might just find yourself sharing a drink with a ghost. 8. York Town Hall and Courthouse Complex, York. York is Western Australia's first inland town, and its town hall and courthouse complex are steeped in a history of crime and punishment. Built in the late 1890s, the courthouse was a place of justice, but also of misery, where countless men were sentenced to time in the gallows. While the complex has been meticulously preserved, it's believed that the spirits of those who face their judgment here still linger. Visitors and staff have reported a range of unsettling phenomena, including phantom footsteps pacing in the upper hallways, the sound of a gavel striking in the empty courtroom, and disembodied whispers in the jailous residence. The most active area is said to be the old cells in the courthouse, where a feeling of oppression and sadness is palpable. Some have even reported seeing the fleeting apparition of a man in an old-fashioned suit, a spectral presence that disappears as quickly as it arrives. These are not just buildings, they are a living archive of a darker time, where the echoes of the past can still be heard. 7. Fremantle Arts Centre, Fremantle. Before it was a vibrant hub for art and culture, the Fremantle Arts Centre was a place of despair, known as the Fremantle Lunatic Asylum. Built in the mid-1860s, it was designed to house the mentally ill, a place where patients were often subjected to harsh, primitive treatments. The asylum was a final stop for many who were deemed unfit for society, and their suffering has left an indelible mark on the building. Today, artists and staff often report a strange, uneasy feeling when they are alone in the studios and corridors. They hear doors slam on their own, whispers from empty rooms, and the chilling sound of chains dragging across the floor. The most famous ghost is that of an inmate named Mary, a woman who is said to have drowned herself in the well on the property. Her spirit is believed to wander the grounds, her weeping sometimes heard in the dead of night. The most famous paranormal incident involves a visiting artist who, while alone, heard a woman's disembodied voice whispering her name, followed by a cold, invisible hand brushing her shoulder. The building's history as a place of institutional anguish is a powerful undercurrent to its modern-day purpose, making it one of Western Australia's most active haunted locations. 6. New Norcia Monastery in Town, New Norcia. Hidden in the wheat belt, New Norcia is not just a town, it's a living monument to a monastic dream. Founded in 1847 by Spanish Benedictine monks, it was intended to be a mission to the Aboriginal people. But this peaceful facade hides a history of sorrow. The monks established an Aboriginal school, where generations of children were removed from their families, forbidden to speak their native languages, and forced into a new way of life. It's here, in the quiet echoes of the monastery and the old school buildings, that the past refuses to rest. Visitors report hearing the sound of children's laughter and whispers when no one is around, a ghostly echo of the many young lives spent within these walls. One of the most common reports is of a cold presence in the museum, accompanied by the feeling of being watched by unseen eyes. The spirits that linger here are not malevolent, but rather sad and lost, their presence a haunting reminder of a tragic history that the community is only now beginning to confront. 5. Old Perth Gaol, now WA Museum, Perth. Nestled in the heart of the new WA Museum, the Old Perth Gaol is a space with a complex and often violent past. Built in the 1850s by convicts, this building served as the main place of confinement for the colony before the rise of Fremantle Prison. Its cells housed a mix of male and female prisoners, including Aboriginal men and women. The jail's history is one of colonial violence, punishment, and despair. While the new museum has transformed the space, the memories, and some say the spirits, remain. Many visitors and staff, particularly in the original jail section, report a feeling of unease and being watched. There are tales of disembodied whispers and cold spots, and some have reported seeing fleeting apparitions in the corners of their eyes. It's a place where the old and new collide, where the vibrant life of a modern museum is a thin veil over a dark history, and the restless spirits of those who suffered there still linger, a silent and spectral part of the exhibition itself. 4. Woodman Point Quarantine Station, Cockburn. Hidden away on a coastal headland, the Woodman Point Quarantine Station holds a dark and devastating history. From 1886 until the 1970s, it was a place of isolation, where people arriving in Western Australia were held against their will to prevent the spread of deadly diseases like smallpox, leprosy, and the Spanish flu. The most tragic event, known as the Buna tragedy, saw 27 soldiers and 4 nurses die from Spanish flu after their ship returned from World War I. Their lives ended in the isolation of these buildings, and it is said their spirits never left. Mediums and paranormal investigators report intense activity, from phantom smells of antiseptic and death to the spectral sounds of coughing and suffering. One of the most haunting encounters is with the spirit of a young boy named Robert, who is said to haunt the shower block. Visitors have felt his curious presence, and mediums report that he died from a disease, likely before his family. Ghost hunters have also heard whistling and groaning sounds in the block, as if the spirits of the sick are still waiting to be released from their quarantine. 3. The Roundhouse, Fremantle. Before Fremantle Prison, there was the Roundhouse. Completed in 1831, it is Western Australia's oldest public building and served as the colony's first permanent prison. Its purpose was simple: to hold anyone who broke the law, whether they were convicts or free settlers. It also served a more gruesome function as a place of public executions. The walls of this small, circular prison hold the grim stories of its earliest inmates. While the jail's history is well documented, its haunted reputation has grown over time, largely overshadowed by its bigger, more infamous neighbor, Fremantle Prison. The most notable ghost story is that of John Gavin, a 15-year-old farmhand who was executed outside the Roundhouse in 1844 for a murder he insisted he didn't commit. He was a small boy, and chains were added to his legs to ensure the drop would be effective. Some say his boyish spirit lingers, a heartbreaking reminder of an unjust death. Visitors have reported a sense of overwhelming sadness and dread near the site of the gallows, a spectral presence that whispers the tragic tale of an innocent life cut short. 2. Albany Old Gaol, Albany. Step back in time to the Albany Old Gaol, a place built in 1852 for imperial convicts. While it was initially intended for rehabilitation, its history quickly grew dark. It became a public prison and later a lockup during the Great Depression. The cells, some timber-lined and etched with Aboriginal art, hold stories of hardship and forgotten lives. The jail's most notorious tale comes from its tiny black hole solitary confinement cell. Legend says that during a drunken brawl, over 20 soldiers were crammed into this small space, and 3 of them died. To this day, staff and visitors report hearing faint wailing and moaning noises emanating from the cell, as if the suffocating screams of those long-dead men are still trapped within the stone walls. In another part of the jail, the cries of a baby are sometimes heard from cell number 25, a heartbreaking echo of a woman who tragically lost her child in childbirth here. As you walk the creaking floorboards and feel the sudden cold spots, you can't shake the feeling that you are not alone, but an uninvited guest in a house full of tormented souls. 1. Fremantle Prison, Fremantle. Imagine a place where the weight of over a century of sorrow and suffering hangs in the very air. Welcome to Fremantle Prison. Built by the convicts it was meant to contain, this imposing limestone fortress was a place of hangings, riots, and unimaginable despair from the 1850s until it closed in 1991. 43 men and 1 woman met their end on its gallows, including the state's last executed person, serial killer Eric Edgar Cook. It's no surprise that the spirits of the past refuse to leave. Visitors and staff alike have reported chilling phenomena. The sound of rattling keys echoes down empty corridors, phantom footsteps are heard in the dead of night, and disembodied voices whisper in your ear. The most famous ghost is that of Martha Rendell, the only woman ever hanged here. Her face is said to appear in a cell window, a chilling reminder of her final moments. Some visitors have even reported feeling an invisible presence brush past them, a fleeting, cold touch from a restless soul. This is not just a building, it's a vault of anguish where the stories of its inmates are etched into the very stone walls, and their spirits are still serving their time.